Hello, welcome to the Blackboard Minimum Requirements video. I am Aubrey Adrianson, the Flint Instructional Effectiveness Specialist at Baker College. And so today I'm going to take you through the minimum requirements or the minimum usage requirements for all instructors at Baker and how you can use them on Blackboard. So if you go into your Blackboard course, you should be taken automatically to announcements. And announcements is one of the requirements for all instructors at Baker College. You need to post an announcement at least once a week, and announcements can contain information like feedback to students in general for the class, reminders of upcoming assignments, and where to find those types of assignments. So let's go ahead and create an announcement. So you click the Create Announcement button, and you have to give it a name. Everything in Blackboard requires a name. So if you see here a subject, there's a little asterisk. We need to name it. And if you can organize your announcements by week, that is helpful to the students. It helps the students stay organized. And so I've given it a name, and now I can type some information. And anytime you see a text box like this, you can change the font of the text. You can kind of play with it, make it look nice, bold, make it bigger, give it some color. If you click on this little button here, it looks like a paper clip. You can attach files and much more. So I encourage you to kind of play with these buttons and see what they do. You can give it a date restriction. And what happens when you give a date restriction is you're saying that I only want this announcement to show for a small period of time. Many instructors choose not to have a date restriction, so you can click on that. And then you can also choose to send a copy of that announcement directly to the student's email, which is nice. So they'll get that announcement even if they don't log into Blackboard. We're going to skip course link for now. And then I've typed in information for my announcement. I've chosen a restriction, whether or not to have date restrictions, and then the email, and I can click submit. And if you notice, that new announcement went right to the top of the list, and that's kind of nice. Blackboard's going to do that for you. So that's the announcements piece. So again, instructors should be posting weekly announcements. The next requirement is faculty information. We do want faculty to be posting some information about themselves for their students to find, and that's mostly so that if students want to know when you're available, or if they want to contact you outside of Blackboard or outside of class, they can do that. And if you notice, I clicked on faculty information here, this button to the side, and I can create a contact. And that's the best place to put this information. You can put it in other places in Blackboard, but if you click on create a contact or create contact, you can put in your title, and your name. Your email address is required. You can also put in a phone number, office location, office hours. Even if you have virtual office hours, you can put those in there, some additional notes. And then, of course, you want to make your profile available because we want students to see it. You can attach an image. So if you want students to go into Blackboard before the first day of class, you might want them to know what you look like. Also, you can post a personal link. So if you have a website or a class website that you want students to have access to get more information about you or things that they'll be working on in class, you can put that there. So after you have all that information in there, you can click submit. And it's thinking. And so if you look, you can see that the information, it's all the way down at the bottom here. is there. So instructional effectiveness specialist Aubrey Adrianson, and email is the only thing I really entered there. So that's how you create a contact. And again, students know how to find you. For the syllabus, you should also be posting your syllabus on Blackboard. The best place to put that is actually in course information, and that's another button just below announcements. So if we go to course information, you see here at the top a number of buttons to use. Anytime you want to attach a file that you just want students to open and look at it, they're not going to submit anything to you. You're not going to give them a grade. You just want to give them something to look at. You are building content. And you can create an item, which means you're not attaching anything at all. You're just typing something in. Or you can create a file. And of course, there's many other things that you can create, but what I want to show you is a file. And again, we have to give this file a name, so we can call it a syllabus. And what you now have to do is either browse your computer or browse content collection. And content collection would be a file that's stored somewhere on Blackboard for you to use. And of course, browse my computer means you're going to go to your computer and find a file to attach. So I'm just going to grab a file here to attach it. So I'm going to highlight it, I'm going to click on open. And I know that I'm successful because then my file shows up here, file name and file type. There's some other options here. You can have that file open in a new window, which I always like to do because sometimes when you attach these files, it opens up in the same window as Blackboard, and then sometimes what happens is students then leave Blackboard, and that's stressful for them because they didn't intend to leave Blackboard when they opened a file. Add alignment to content, I would say no. Permit users to view this content, of course, yes. You can choose to track the number of views, and then of course you can limit how long they can view it. And with the syllabus, I would say we wouldn't want to do that. So then we would click submit. And now that my syllabus is, or the syllabus is in course information. And if I were to click on that, it would download the file for me, which is kind of weird. Okay. And then if I want to move things around in my course information, or actually in any of these windows, I can just move my mouse over the words of the file, and I'm going to get these four arrows. These four arrows allow me to click and drag the files or the content anywhere I want in that screen. Okay, so the next minimum requirement for Blackboard is using assignments or creating assignments. And assignments are a little bit different than a file or content, because now you're asking students to produce something which they will then give to you for grading. And you're going to find those things under assessments. So you can create a test, you can create a survey, which is kind of like a test, and you can create an assignment. And the assignment link, or the assignment feature, I think is the most versatile one to use, because you can have students submit many different types of files. With this assignment link, they can submit a video, they can submit a PowerPoint, they could submit a Word file to you using this assignment link. So I, just like anything in Blackboard, I have to give my assignment a name. And then instructions for the student. So this is where you tell the students what those instructions are for the assignment. You can also attach a file, and that's down here, number 2, that explains those instructions. So you could say, see file attachment for instructions. Or you can cut and paste if you have it, save those instructions for the assignment saved in a file. You could cut and paste those into this box here. And again, you can do all kinds of things with the text in this box. And then I can attach a file. And now number 3, under grading, I have to give this some points possible. So I have to say how much the assignment is worth. I can add a rubric, which I'd like to skip for now. And then I can make some decisions about this assignment. I can allow a single attempt. That means the student is only allowed to submit that assignment once. However, writing teachers might want students to be able to submit a draft, have the instructor look at it, return that to the student, and the student submit another draft. So you might choose to do that, and you can say the number of drafts that they are allowed to submit. You can limit the availability. Now this is just whether or not the students can see the assignment. So, and that's different from number 5, which is due dates. So I always recommend giving something a due date. You would click here on this box, and it's going to default to the day that you're creating the assignment at midnight, or 1 minute before midnight. But if you click on this little calendar here, you can pick a different date, and you can pick a different time. If you click on the clock, you can pick a different time. And I've always liked to pick just before class, depending on what it is I'm doing, because normally we would expect students to have an assignment completed before they come to class. So you can keep it at midnight, you can pick a different time depending on what works for you. And then this, most of the time you're going to say all students individually. This is, you would choose groups only if you've created groups on Blackboard. So we have all this information entered. I can now click submit. And then here's my essay. And the difference between building content and an assessment, again, you're expecting students to submit this assignment, and Blackboard has then created this assignment for you in the grade book, in the grade center. So then you can go into the grade center and assign a grade, and also allow students to submit this assignment to you electronically. So if I were to click on this, it shows me the assignment information. And if I were a student, I could browse my computer and submit my file to be graded. So that's how you create assignments on Blackboard. The next thing is the discussion board. Now, if you go over here again on the left, you'll see discussion board, and you click on that. And then you have the screen that pops up. And then the requirement is that you are posting a discussion board question at least once a week. And the whole point is for students to be having conversations outside of class about class content. So it's a way for you to extend this class content, extend the discussion outside of the classroom time. And so you would create a discussion board question. You're going to click on Create Forum. And you're going to give it a name. And again, if the naming convention goes along with the week, that is helpful to the students to stay organized. And one of the weird things about the discussion board is you can write a description here, and then later on I'll show this to you, but the description that you write here isn't actually going to appear in the forum. So you could write the description, the question here, and write it again in the forum, or you could just leave this blank. And a lot of instructors at Baker are choosing to leave this blank. And then for 2, we're going to forum availability. Yes, we want it available. And again, we can make date restrictions. For viewing threads and replies, you can have the standard view, which would be students can go into the forum, read all of the replies from their classmates, and then write their reply. Or you can click on this button here where it says participants must create a thread in order to view other threads in this forum. And you might choose to do that because you want all of your students to write an original post first before commenting on others. However you want your discussion board set up is completely up to you. Now, you can choose no grading in forum. However, if you decide to grade the discussion, then what's nice is Blackboard will create a column in the Grade Center for you, so then you don't have to go in and create that column yourself. So this is a good place to just go ahead and make it graded so that if you have that column in your Grade Center. You can choose to give it a due date. You can add a rubric. And then subscription, this is really not important to you as the instructor. If students choose to subscribe to a forum, basically what that means is they're getting email updates about whenever someone posts in the forum. So that has really nothing to do with you. So you could not allow subscriptions or allow, it won't matter. And then create and edit. You can choose to allow the author to delete own posts, but I don't recommend it. This is, sometimes students are not nice in the discussion boards. They use it as a way to kind of anonymously bully people. And so we don't want authors deleting or editing their own posts just in case something like that happens. And you can save that information and use it if for any reason you had to file a report regarding any kind of online bullying. Allow members to create new threads. I say fine, you might want all of your students to reply only to the thread that you create. So this is, again, completely up to you. Allow file attachments. In general, I would say yes. This is a great way for students to share information if they wish to share information. And then allow users to reply with a quote means that they can then quote each other inside the text of their own discussion board post, which can be nice. And so I just leave it there in case the students want to do that. So you've made all the decisions about your forum. You click submit. And now I have my forum. And this is where it gets kind of weird because the students can't start typing yet. They have to actually click on that. And then now I have this forum and there's nothing in there. So even if I had written something for the description, that still would not have shown up once I clicked on it. And so that's kind of deceptive, I think, and I'm hoping Blackboard will change that in the future. If you want a question to appear here, and you definitely do, what you need to do is create a thread. And so you can give it a name. And then you can write your question here in the message. You can choose to attach a file, and then you can submit. And then your question is there, and they still can't see it. They still have to click on it. But what's nice about this is once your students have clicked on the question or the thread that you've created, okay, now they can see the question that you've written that you want them to answer, and they can click on this reply button and then answer directly in that thread, which is nice, because then they can read the question and then also reply to the question. And if you notice, they can reply here in this box and still see the question. And so that's the best way to set up a discussion board. And again, we're doing those once a week. And then the last requirement that Baker has of their instructors is that instructors are using the Grade Center. And if you click all the way down under Control Panel, you see Grade Center. And you can choose to only look at items that need to be graded, or you can go to the full Grade Center. And in the full Grade Center, you're going to see the student's name, their ID, the last time they accessed the class, their Blackboard, that particular Blackboard class, and then some of the assignments that you've placed in Blackboard. If you look, I have essay number 1 and my discussion board question. And then I can click on here and I can give this student a grade. So there's a lot happening in the Grade Center. It takes a little bit of time to get it set up so that it's calculating grades for you. The easiest thing is to use a point system. So if you're already using a point system, or if you're in a UBD course, those do use a point system, either 800 or 1,000, you have this total column. And it's just going to add up all the points. And then that's nice and easy for you, and the students have kind of a running total of where they're at in the course throughout the quarter. And then, of course, they can look and see what their grades are on individual assignments throughout the quarter as well. And you can edit this down chevron. If you click on that, you can edit the column. And I want to show you this one thing. We have the primary display and the secondary display. Now the primary display, if you're using a point system, you want to keep as score, because that means that all you're doing is just adding up all the points from all the various assignments and giving it a score. But you can choose a secondary display, and you can choose percentage, and then that gives the students kind of a better idea of where they're at in the course. It will take the number of points that they've earned and divide it by the number of points possible and use that to create a percentage so the student basically has a better idea of where they're at in your course. And so that's nice. And so if you look here, Steve isn't doing so great. He's only got a 39% so far. He's only earned 74 points out of I'm not sure how many in the course. But there's a lot happening in the Grade Center. And I will be offering some more training on how to use the Grade Center and how to create columns, delete columns, managing the Grade Center, rearranging the Grade Center, things of that nature. But at the minimum, we do want you communicating grades to the students through the Grade Center. And those are the Blackboard minimum requirements. If you have any questions about how to use Blackboard or the Blackboard minimum requirements, you can always email me at aubrey.adrianson@baker.edu, and you should be receiving my emails, and you can always reply directly to those emails. Thank you for watching.